It's so quiet. Was that quiet before?
No.
Oh, whoa. All right. What is going on, you guys, and welcome to the My Money Muscle podcast. My name is Steve.
My name's Keith.
And welcome. And our mission, our mission is to help you improve your financial, physical, and mental health by getting real with your problems and cutting through your bullshit.
One of these days, we're going to get better at this intro, I swear to God.
One day, man.
Now, before we get into today's episode, as per usual, we always have one ask. And that one ask is, if you found one piece of information valuable, if you really enjoyed something, you changed your perspective, you learned something whatsoever, all we do is we ask you to share this onto your Instagram story. Tag us at Mind Money Muscle Podcast on Instagram. Come check out our Instagram. Come continue the conversation with us as we'll be posting reels and different posts about the episodes that we're doing and continue the conversation with us. But without further ado, let's get into today's episode and introducing the Macro King,
Josh Harlow.
Let's go.
Josh, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me, boys.
Yeah, no problem. So, Josh, my brother, made an insane transformation over the last, was it 2 years, 3 years?
3 or 4 now.
3 or 4 now?
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah. So if you guys aren't following on Instagram, it's jharlow.nutrition. Go follow him. Most insane recipes you're ever going to find. Like, actually delicious. Like the Blizzard one. You saw Blizzard, eh?
Yeah.
You guys, if you guys aren't following him, you're missing out on some of the best dishes you're going to find for macro friendly and high protein meals. It's insane.
Yeah, I'll touch on Josh also. So like I still confuse this quite a bit, but I've had like I consider 4 people my 4 first like original clients. It's Josh, Quentin, Steven, not this Steven, but a guy named Steven Story, and somebody else, but that other name escapes me. Josh, from when he like first started into fitness to where he's at now, is just absolutely insane. Like, just like your Instagram profile photo, man. Whenever I look at that, I'm just like, it's a completely fucking different person,
It's
man.
inspiring.
It's fucking insane, bro.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
dude, tell us the story. Why'd you get into fitness compared to where you're at? Where did you start out with? Because I know that you and Steven produced music together, and quite the switch up into this realm of like health, fitness, social media, etc.
Yeah, well, before that, like growing up, we were always into sports. So we always had to do like some form of dry land from like for hockey, skiing, all that sorts of shit. So that was always kind of like a part of life, I guess you could say. But I never really took it all that seriously. And then like after high school, we kind of got into the music production thing, and that was kind of the focus for a while. But then it just like, I don't know, kind of fizzled out, started to like feel like a bit of a job. And yeah, somehow I ended up getting addicted into the gym with you and Keith. And it kind of stemmed from like, I was going to the gym consistently for like a solid year and a half, and like I just wasn't seeing the results. So then I reached out to a coach and did like 3 weeks of like actual in-person training, just to kind of like see where I was going wrong with like form and like just like structure of training. Because I don't think I wouldn't go in there with any like proper layout of like what exercises go where, like where your rep ranges should be, like anything like that. So he kind of like he showed me a lot of like form stuff, but then the main thing at the end of it, he was like, okay, well, let's talk a little bit about like how you're eating.
Yeah.
And then we like went through, and I kind of gave him a list of like what my typical day of eating would be. And he was like, man, the reason you're not gaining any weight is you're eating like 1,700 calories.
Right.
And I was just like, I had no idea. Like, I thought I was eating a lot of food. I was like, oh, I eat like 3 meals a day of like rice, chicken, and whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember you kind of showing me the plan that he kind of laid out for you. And I always have this image in my head when you're showing me like his plan, and one of the things on like your calendar was like show ? And I remember like us talking.
Like, fuck no.
So like myself, Morgan, and a bunch of other people, we all do like fitness competitions and whatnot. And I remember seeing Josh's plan with his other coach being like show ? And yeah, he was just like, fuck no, like that is totally not me. So like now moving into it and away from like the music scene and whatnot, moving into health and fitness, what was kind of like the switch? Like, why did you decide to move into this as quickly as you did? Like, obviously, as Josh and I had been talking across the last few years, he's the one who ended up putting me onto Will Tennyson, who shows like incredible recipes, macro friendly recipes and whatnot. So why did you decide to go that direction rather than the training specificity direction or like motivation direction that like a lot of other people like take on?
Well, I kind of like, I never really had an interest in like coaching or anything, like, and my interest was like less in the actual training aspect, and I just started doing like my own like deep dives into like whether it was watching podcasts or like looking up stuff or following people and seeing what they had to say about like nutrition hacks and stuff like that, because I like realized, I was like, okay, well, there's so many people that like train properly that like don't even look like they train. It's because they just eat whatever. So I was like, I quickly realized that like the main factor to getting those results was in your food. Right. And I was like, okay, so just out of my own personal like interest and wanting to get myself the most amount of results in the shortest amount of time, I just started like diving into that route. Right. And then it just kind of snowballed into learning like, holy, like nobody actually knows this shit. Right. Like nobody knows how you should eat. Nobody like understands it. They all just think, oh, if you just eat like pretty healthy. Yeah. Like no sense of like macronutrition, micronutrition, calories, like no, like hardly anybody has a fucking clue.
Yeah. So how would you, so I know you shared something on your Instagram story about like, or on one of your posts today actually, it was like lose 10 pounds in 10 days or something like that. And then you shared like a post of magazine covers that like promise these like fucking incredible results. Like I saw one at the grocery store a couple of days ago. The other day. Yeah, it was like new research finds that some people need like more carbs than others, like to sustain healthy living. And I'm like, shit, no fucking shit. Like, why is this news to us? But there is a group of people out there that believe that nutrition is this big magical like, oh, like you need an RD to tell you exactly, you know, what to eat. And you know, at the end of the day, like what have you kind of found when it comes to like coaching your clients, etc.?
Well, it's funny because like with those things too, they like prey off of like someone who doesn't understand like water retention or inflammation or your glycogen storages. Like you can lose 10 pounds in 2 days if you understand that shit. If you dehydrate yourself or you cut carbs, do like 4 days of keto, of like full keto, you're gonna drop weight quick, but it's not body fat. Right. It's just all water.
Exactly. So what do you like when it comes to keto or any other types of diets like that? Have you tried any of that shit to like experiment with yourself?
Oh yeah, I did keto for a couple months.
I remember that.
I looked like I just got out of like, I don't know, starvation camp or something like that. Like I was like 142 pounds. And I remember my thought process at the time being like, okay, so I have this little like layer, but if I just like eat less, like if I do this keto thing, get shredded, like have abs, I'll look good. But then I got like, I had the abs, but I literally looked like, I looked like a
marathon runner.
Yeah. I looked like, I was like, oh, you can be like somewhat shredded and still look like shit. Exactly. I was like, damn, I need to eat some more food, put on some muscle before I worry about this.
Yeah, you were small then, man.
Yeah. I always think back, and I was actually telling a client of mine this, when I got down to my like show weight, which was like 163, 164, I take a look at that me, and then I take a look at the me 6 weeks out. And even though I was not show ready 6 weeks out, like arguably I wasn't show ready when I got to my show, but at 6 weeks out, it was the best I had ever looked ever. Like, even though I didn't have the most shredded abs, like the rest of my body was so full. And I think that like people really fail to see it's not about getting like show fucking ready, shredded to like look good. It's like, you know, getting to a good healthy spot where you feel good in your workouts and like, I don't know, you have some abs showing, etc. But like everybody's rate at, I don't know, progress is so vastly different, right? So like, you know, moving forward, obviously, like you've been coaching for a while now. Being from Kelowna, the main thing that people do if you're an online trainer or a trainer in general is you fucking know about, you know, Brian Mark, 10K Academy, etc. So like what made you take the leap into, you know, joining the academy and like pursuing entrepreneurship? Like at what point was it for you when you're just like, okay, I'm going to be trying to actually make money from coaching versus, you know, what you were doing before?
Yeah, it was probably like a few months ago, maybe a little before that. I started to be like, okay, because my approach was like trying to like provide information but not be cringy on social media and not be like in people's faces.
Right.
And then it just like I kind of just sat back and didn't really treat it like an actual job.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you do that, it's just like you realize pretty quickly that like, oh, I can sit back here and I can not post and not be like too in people's faces with my shit, but then you just don't get any clients.
Right.
So it's like you kind of need to just accept that like people who like don't want to see that kind of stuff can just unfollow or mute you. It's not a big deal. Like if your friends want to mute you or unfollow your page, like who gives a shit? Like they're just because they're your friends doesn't mean they have to look at your fitness spam all day.
Exactly.
Like they can unfollow you. It's not personal. It's just like you're posting that stuff in the sense of you're trying to grow your business. So you have to just put out whatever is going to appeal to people that are actually going to sign with you, not to like your friends.
Exactly. The it's like it's our form of work, right? So like you think about any of our friends who don't do online fitness stuff or promote themselves on social media and whatever, we're not sitting at work with them for 8 hours a day. Like we don't care. Like we don't care that you're a junior sales manager at Chevrolet. We're not trying to like watch any of that shit. So like why would people want to be watching us trying to promote our businesses? Like if they're looking to work with us, fucking awesome. Like let's provide high quality information. Let's make sure that we're there for them, etc. But like, you know, at the end of the day, just because people don't watch your shit or like don't, you know, follow your journey T for T, every post that you make, 5 posts a week, etc., like doesn't mean that they're less of your friends or like less of your homie.
Yeah.
Right?
And at the end of the day, that's why you have like, for me, I have like my personal account where I like won't post anything to do with fitness really.
Yeah.
But then the other account is just like fully business. It's only like I don't post personal stuff on there. It's only like fitness content or like information, that sort of stuff. So I keep it separate. If you want to, if you like, you can follow the personal account, you don't have to see any of that shit. But if you follow the business account, then you got to expect that's what you're going to see.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's huge. What I want to know now is, since you started, your mentality before and after you started, what do you think the biggest shift has been to learning, like just in general about yourself, about how you handle people, how you handle yourself and life in general? What's been the biggest switch that you've had to make before, during, and then to now to commit to your business and to commit to more of an entrepreneurial lifestyle?
Wait, repeat the question one more time.
Yeah. So the biggest mental shifts, what are the biggest mental shifts that you've had to make, or that you had to make basically from before, during, and up to now that led you to get to where you are? Like, what are the shifts that had to happen?
As far as shifts, like, I don't know, just the way I've had to approach it was like, you have to see it more of like, yeah, it's kind of a hard question to answer. It's not really a shift. It's just like, you have to actually like take pride in like, it's not about like, okay, I need to like make this amount of money. You have to look at it in the way of like, this is a job where you're like, if you're successful at it, you're like lucky to have that as your job. Like the fact that you have the knowledge and you have the resources to like take someone who's literally been like severely overweight their whole life, and you can like take them out of that and then teach them how to stay out of that. Like you're adding years to people's lives. You're like preventing health issues, and you're severely like helping their mental health. So if you see it in that light and not as people as like a number on a list, then it's just, that's when you start to act. It doesn't feel like a job when it's like that, because you're actually like excited when you get check-ins and stuff, and seeing people make progress is actually like rewarding. It's not like a clock in, clock out kind of thing.
Yeah. One of the best conversations I ever had was I helped one of my clients in the past. I've known him since elementary school. I helped him lose 80 pounds. And like the conversation we had, he was like, man, if you never reached out to me that day, like I never would have done anything like this. Like, you know, thank you for, you know, pushing me and messaging me to do this. Cause like, you know, you really changed my life. And every time I have a conversation like that, I'm just like, okay, every time I don't want to get on social media and message someone, or every time I don't want to make a post, I'm like, that could be the one post that gets me closer to having that conversation with another person. And like, that's what makes me feel good at the end of the day. Like, fuck, it's awesome to make money. Like at the end of the day, we have to be able to trade the time that we put in for being able to live, which is what we do. But also at the end of the day, like having those conversations means so much more than like, because you know, you'll get to a point where you make enough money where you know, like, okay, I'm not struggling. Like I'm making 6 figures, whatever, like early 6 figures amount of money. And you're going to get to a point where you're like, fuck, if I made double this, like how much is my life really going to change? It's like, not really. Like from 100K a year to 200K a year, it's like, what's really going to change? Like once you break that like $60,000 a year mark and you're like, I'm comfortable, until you get up to that like high 6-figure 800K, 900K like mark, which is still a while away for me, for example, there isn't too much of a change that's going to happen. So you have to find wins somehow else. Like one of the things that we do is we always check over our quarterly revenue, and like each quarter it gets higher or it stays around the same, very rarely drops lower. But we always think like, how have our actions in our lives really changed in the past 3 months? It's like, I still show up, I still coach my clients. Yes, I have some money in the bank. That's great. But like at the end of the day, you have to find wins in what you're actually doing, because money only solves money problems. Like
just a tool.
Exactly.
Yeah, the more we can associate the tool with, or if we can use the tool for good impact, then that tool is going to be more valuable to us, because it's going to motivate us in a way. But if we're just relying on that tool for our own happiness, we're never going to be able to like be fulfilled with what we're doing, and we're probably going to quit halfway into what could have been a long journey. You know, we're going to get short-sighted, and we're going to miss out on a huge opportunity potentially to help other people like you guys are doing, which is amazing. Yeah. So, speaking of, you know, money and everything, 10K Academy, Josh, entrepreneurship. What's it been like, you know, joining that and starting to, you know, really get regimented with everything and lock into that, you know, business mentality?
Yeah, the 10K Academy's helped a lot, because it's just kind of helped with like figuring out how to structure and how to manage your time a little bit better, and setting, like actually scheduling your day out instead of just getting up and being like, okay, I got to do these things, and then just kind of like doing them when you get around to them. Just no real set schedule. So that was one of the biggest things I've been getting from the 10K Academy, as well as just like, I didn't join it for a while because I felt like there was just so many coaches that were coming out of it, no offense, Brian, that don't know a fucking thing other than marketing. And I still kind of think that, not all of them, but like there is a lot of them that don't know shit about actual physiology or anything like that.
When I first joined the academy, like they never really like interviewed me to ask if I had like,
no, there's no requirements.
Yeah, fitness coaching experience or whatever. But I have noticed that inside of, you know, the academy bringing on people, they now ask like, how comfortable are you in like, you know, training someone in nutrition and training, blah, blah, blah. Cause like they're there to teach you business acumen and social media. They're not there to teach you how to coach. So it's like, even though they've used the 10K Academy to like help people with their business, like it's still on the coach to like, you actually got to know how to help people. Like you can't just straight up, like people are going to straight up lie about what they can and can't do all the time, but it's like, that's completely on them. Right.
Yeah. Well, I've like had a couple people out of the 10K Academy like hit me up and be like, hey, like, can you like teach me some nutrition stuff? And I'm just like, well, like, what do you mean? Yeah. Like, what do you want me to teach you? And they're just like, oh yeah, well, I just like, I kind of understand like I should be eating like 1 pound of 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. And like, that's where they're at. And I'm like,
just the ground
you're going to
floor.
try to take on fucking clients right now, dude?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
But yeah, no, to kind of backpedal, I'm not trying to throw shade here. That's just what I thought it was. But then once I actually joined into it, because I'm in another mentorship with my boss, Brett Godin, who's an absolute wizard. And it's all information based. Like it's almost nothing to do with marketing or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, but now that I'm in both of them, and Brian too with the 10K is a wizard. Like how he understands how to market and go about it, but also not be like a pushy salesman where you're like forcing shit on people. He actually like, he's got it figured out to a T.
Yeah. It's really great. Like let's talk about mentorship for a second. Like obviously the traditional way to go about doing things is to go to university, get a degree, get a job, whatever the fuck. But ever since investing in Brian, it made me realize, like, holy fuck, that was like, this is how I think about it. With Brian, when I first joined the academy, it was like $400 a month, and I'm just the ROI that I've gotten from being in the academy is exponentially higher than anything I could have ever imagined. And I paid the dude $400 a month.
Yeah, well, you sign like one client and it's paid for.
Exactly. So at this point, I think like, okay, there's obviously a next level beyond that and a next level beyond that. And now in my mind, all I keep thinking about is who's the next level? How do I know I'm ready for that next level? And like, how much more money could I be making and how much more people can I help? Like, it just makes me think like traditional education is just not the way anymore. And mentors who have created systems around the things that they do is completely the way. Like being in Brett's mentorship and learning the tools, even like for the general population of people, like you understand calorie balance, you train properly, you recover well, you're going to get a fuckload of results. But there's so many little tools in our tool belt now just by listening to Brett speak about, like hormones and blood pressure and stress alleviation and random shit like fucking Cialis, like for example. Like these are things that we would have never considered in terms of like supplementation and like different regimens that we can implement. And you know, Brett has 13 years of coaching experience. It's like the dude's fucking seen it all. So like you don't go into a situation blind. Plus with the mentorship, anytime we have a question about our own clients, it's like, hey Brett, what do you think we should do here? And when you trust someone with 13 years of experience to help coach your clients as well, and you have that mentor, it's like you never feel unable to help people because you have someone in your back pocket like that.
And I've taken a couple of the ISSA courses and I have to take another certification, but it's like literally it seems like grade 12 bio, like compared to Brett's mentorship. It's like I haven't learned anything in that I didn't either already know, or like even some of the stuff they teach in it is like outdated information that has been like since corrected, but still on their exam is like the old right question or right answer.
Wow. My favorite question they put in there is what's the most important meal of the day? And it's like breakfast. And it's like, what? No, what? Like that doesn't make any sense. It's just like the general answer that everybody thinks they know, right? Like there's no backing to support that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. If you're training, arguably your most important meal of the day is your pre-workout and post-workout meals. Everything around that is not as important. I don't know. It's wild. It's definitely wild.
Yeah, it's just the specifics of the things you learn when you go into a mentorship and actually have that one-on-one is like even just little things about like calories in, calories out. Yeah, you can't really debate it. But when you start getting down to like nitty gritty details, there's like, depending on what the calories are made up of, this can alter what your calories out ends up being. So it's like, yeah, calories in, calories out, but the type of calories can change what the calories out are based on how it affects your hormones or like protein, the thermic effect. The thermic effect of protein, like all sorts of things like that. That it's just, if you just go by these very general, like by the book old ways of going about it, it's like you're missing out on a lot of tools that you can use.
Exactly. Last thing before we wrap this up, I think the last question that we want to ask is let's talk about the goals, man. So like you've been doing this now for more than a few months. Where do you kind of see yourself in the next 2-3 years? Like is this something that you want to like continuously pursue? Like where do you see this going like for you?
In the next couple of years, I for sure just want to keep growing the business, and also want to get into more like putting out like cookbooks and like stuff like that are like free to all clients, or like even just I'll put out some stuff for free just to like Instagram or whatever, because that's always been the main thing that's kind of like been the driver behind the food aspect, is just the fact that it's like really not that hard to like eat normal food and like still be like headed towards your goal. It's just people are just so like blinded by it being like this huge thing, and it's like so complicated, and it's really not that complicated. So if you can just teach people that like they can just swap certain things or make little changes, it's actually like so much easier. So I'm just gonna keep trying to push that out, And yeah, that's kind of the short-term goal.
What about the little bit of the long-term goal here, getting close, like pushing the 3-4 year mark? If you had to put something like you were going to try and like strive for, where would you be sending yourself?
Nutrition app.
There you go. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, don't know. I'm gonna take it like 2 years at a time. I can't really. I've never been one for 5 or 10 year plans.
You a Lambo guy or a Rari guy?
Lambo.
Nice.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah, fair enough. It's awesome. Well, Josh, thanks for coming to the show. We got one more episode coming up, guys. You're going to see it in the next one. We got part 2 of the interview with Josh here. But before we go, we got to announce that we have a giveaway still going on to the end of March.
Absolutely.
For $500.
So the way that we want to run this giveaway is like across our social medias over the last like month or so. Like we haven't been as active as promoting this stuff like on there. So we do want to extend it to the end of March. So all you have to do is grab your favorite podcast episode, share it onto your story, tag us at My Money Muscle Podcast on Instagram. Let us know that you're tuning in. We're going to choose one lucky winner at the end of March to win $500 cold hard cash. We're going to make this happen. There is a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes with my business, Steven creating his own. So we need to be able to manage our time better, me specifically, so that we can get this all out to you guys. So thank you guys so much for tuning into this one. We will see you in the next episode.
Peace.